Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Oh my God, there I am. Technical difficulties abound. This is Troy's fault. He's laughing, but he knows it's on him. He has hexed my show. Bad mojo, Troy. Bad mojo. So there you go. What's up, kids? I missed my glorious intro. What's up? Welcome back to the show. We took a 6 3/4 day break. We're back. I totally stole that from Around the Horn. I make no apologies for that. So some of my best stuff I've stolen over the years. Don't tell anyone. Hope you guys are having a freaking great Friday, man. Happy Friday to you as always. Before we bring our guests on, we're going to make them wait, especially Troy, because mojo, Troy. You see what I'm saying? Let's see who was first to the table today. Sugar Shane Odom in the house. What's up, Shane? Thanks for hanging out. Shannon, as always, what's going on? Victor Vasquez, what is happening, my friend? Happy Friday to you, Brendan. Your boy turns a year older on Sunday. Don't tell anyone, okay? I don't expect big, expensive gifts at my front door by Sunday. I don't. However, I'll be glad to give my mailing address if you're so inclined. There you go. These are just jokes. Ray, what's going on? Ray enjoyed my Wu-Tang shirt pick. Hey, man, I can rock a Wu-Tang shirt. I'm not saying I can pull it off. I'm saying I can rock it. So there you go. Is that the same thing? Who knows? Carlos Martinez, what's going up? Jamel in Vegas, as always. Jamel, I'm waiting for you one day to show up and say, what's up, Tom, from Colorado or from Denver or from Los Angeles. I'm waiting on something different there. Surprise me one day. It will take me aback. What's up, Mark? Russell, what's going on, my friend? Lance, everyone say hello, Lance. Lance messaged me earlier and said, because of me, he now has a podcast. That's pretty freaking metal. Thanks so much, Lance. You're the man, brother. Thank you so much for giving props. And listen, we're just here to inspire. We're here to change the world one pro wrestling fan at a time. You can snicker now if you want to. It's fine. I don't care. Listen, that was very cool of you to say, man. People helped me up over the years, and if I can give a hand up to somebody or inspire, I know it's a big word. Stick with me. But, hey, man, if I can do it, I'll do it. It's all good. Alma's already talking about Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. Alma's bringing the heat. We're going to get there, I promise you. Jane Scott, what's going on? Thank you. The ladies are tuning in. We love the ladies here on the Main Event. And I'm not being all like that when I say it. It's the truth. Female pro wrestling fans are where it's at. The guys will tell you. Tell them, guys. See, they're all going to tell you now. On the same train of thought, what's up, Belinda? Where did the comment go? Wow, there's people chiming in. That's awesome. Someone just said they're late to the party. Who was it? I'm going to put him up. Oh, Diane from the UK. Diane, you probably know our guests because you all live over there. Isn't that like this the worst thing to say to somebody? You guys probably know each other because you live in the same country. Wouldn't it be funny if you did? And like I was proven to be right? How cool would that be? It's probably never going to happen. But man, wouldn't that be fun? Somebody said they were late to the party. Where are they? Well, crap. Here we go. Elvis Martinez is late to the party. Guess who else was late, Elvis? Troy. I know you're snickering, Troy. Bad Mojo, Troy. From now on, Troy, your nickname is Bad Mojo. All right. So enough of my shenanigans and sarcasm, of which I can never get enough. You guys know, right? Let's bring on our guests, live and in living color, from across the pond, at least from me, James Luft, who was completely on time, and Troy Grant, who was not completely on time. There we go. Do I still have you muted? Troy's being muted. You know what?
I think Troy is. Am I?
Their mic isn't connected. There we go.
There we go.
Bad mojo, Troy. I
Bad
told
mojo
you.
straight away.
Oh, do you know what? I don't know why I bother. I'll go. It's fine.
I'm gonna be bringing this up so much in the NXT UK review later.
Oh, that's good stuff, man. That is good stuff. I love when stuff works. I love when stuff I do works. See what just happened? Bam. I'm pretty happy with that. So James and Troy, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having us, man.
Of course. Kids, you remember James and Troy. James and Troy, here are the kids. Kids, say hello to our guests. I know you guys will make them feel welcome, as you always do. It's always cool to have a guest here on the show. Last week, I had Phil with me, a usual guest host or co-host for Tom Clark 6 and podcast, which new episodes drop every Tuesday. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more, say no more. There you go. So, yes, we're going to get into some headlines, kids. Man, we have a big show lined up for you today. Someone just asked if I've tried Peacock yet. I don't have this on the banners, but let's go around the horn. Told you I'm going to steal everything I do. So, real quick, have you guys navigated the Peacock app as of yesterday? Because, wait a minute, you guys still have network over there, don't
We
you?
got the network. We don't have Peacock.
I'm asking the wrong people. So, everybody in the chat, let me just share my story. I don't know what's going on, and I'm pretty technically proficient, despite the bad mojo people that show up. So, man, I'm going to have fun with that forever.
I'm never living this down, am I?
Never, pal. I tried navigating that thing yesterday. Let me tell you, I'd rather have the network back. I don't know what is going on. It seems
really
like all the content has not shifted yet. It's just some of it. And I'm like shifting, I'm like scrolling through looking for the old school content. I'm like, okay, where's NWA? Where's World Class Championship? What's going on? And I don't see it.
Does it not even have like a search function?
It does, but I haven't gone to the extent of looking up, Jim Crockett or looking up Tully Blanchard. I mean, I should.
They
but like
did that WCW Saturday night yesterday.
Yeah,
I saw that,
so
a couple of like weird hidden gem matches on there.
It's something I saw a blurb from somebody that said that supposedly by Survivor Series or by SummerSlam it was supposed to all be moved over. I'm like, please tell me that's not correct. That's a long time. Like
that's a long time away.
Yeah, I'd heard that it's going to take at least 3 months to move everything over. So
the thing is with that, they knew for a while they were going to do that. Do it in advance. Why is it like, oh, okay, well, we're going to give it you now. We've rushed to give it you now, but not everything's on there. You're going to get it in over 4 or 5 months. Plan 4 or 5 months in advance and make sure it's all on there.
Surely they could have just backed it all up and then sent it over.
It's not hard.
Surely they've already got the backups that they could have started sending content over. It's not like they're taking content from one platform and putting it on another, is it? It's still going to be on the network internationally.
It's mad. You'd think these are like the way they're doing it. It's like this is their first rodeo. They're like an amateur company. Like you guys are experiencing this. Pull your fingers out.
It wouldn't be WWE's first time doing something like that, would it?
Well, that's true.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like it's. I mean, boots on the day that boots hit the ground, they need to be up and running, and they're just not terrible.
Did you hear about when the network launched in the UK?
No.
So literally three times it happened. On the actual date it was meant to launch, they went like they said a specific time. I think it was like 6 p.m. and at like 4:35 they went, it's been delayed, but didn't say how long for. So I remember being at a Raw taping like a couple of days after the first time, and everyone was like chanting to the point where Vince himself, what he wasn't scheduled to be on the show, came out and started like cutting a heel promo, and the crowd was like, that's so good.
Can't do that because you messed up.
Everyone was chanting, where's our network?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's again, I asked the question why, like you guys said, I don't understand why they can't just be ready. If they knew this was coming, and they did for a long time, apparently knew longer than any of us did that this was coming. So yeah, have all your ducks in a row, man. All right, guys. So Troy, you didn't get a preview of this. James was on time, so you didn't get a preview.
Oh, I'm done.
But James got a preview. You don't get to lead, Troy. You're trapped. You're trapped. You're being held captive. So no, we're going to go ahead and hit the first headline. I hope you guys got some thoughts because I got some. Let's talk about one of the biggest stories this week that happened on AEW Dynamite, Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa in the main event of Dynamite. These ladies brought the pain. They got color. Holy God. I don't know if you guys expected a bloodbath. I didn't. I got thoughts. I'm going to let you guys go first and hit me with what you think. James, what do you think about this?
I expected blood. I didn't expect that much blood.
Yeah.
But what a match. I mean, for me, it's one of my matches of the year so far. It was so fun. It reminded me a little bit of Triple H and Cactus Jack at Royal Rumble 2000. Just a lot of like sort of Brit being like in the Triple H role of that heel. It's always had like one over on the face, and then Thunder Rosa being the Cactus Jack role of being like fighting the heel and finally getting it, like giving the heel a comeuppance. Yeah, great effort from both women. I think Britt Baker's pretty much cemented herself now to be the person to take that belt off Shida as well.
Troy, what do you think?
I loved it. Similar to Jay, I expected there to be some blood, some colour, but not as much as there was. And the first time I was aware of it is when I saw just a still of it of Britt Baker's face. I was like, oh, that looked like it escalated quickly. And so, yeah, it was outstanding. It was superb. I know AEW get a lot of stick for their women's division. And I know with the whole like Joshi tournament recently, it's kind of showcased some of the talent both sides of the pond. But yeah, this hopefully is kind of the start of something within the women's division there where it's taken, not necessarily taken seriously, because that's not to say it isn't, but just there's a bit more of a spotlight put on it, and it puts it on the map, and people kind of go, this is the sort of thing they're capable of. Let's put a bit more stock into it.
I think we've all been in this same mindset over the past couple of years, is that the AEW women's division started off not bad, and then it's really seriously dipped, and we've all kind of been sitting back saying, man, I'm ready for them to crank the volume up. When's that going to happen? Well, it was deafening on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I got to put this up because Ray's my Adam Cole fan. Awesome match, but no shocker. Britt is married to King Adam Cole, so she's naturally great. Here's what I'll say. I want to be fair to Britt here. In the beginning, it was hard because people were chanting Adam Cole during her matches in the beginning. I mean, obviously, and I know she probably wasn't much of a fan of that. But Wednesday night, I didn't think about Adam Cole at all, not one time. And when he did come to mind after the show, I thought, it's funny. I didn't even. That's great, good for her. So like she's making a name for herself and putting distance between that obvious chant and connection. I told Phil after we did an episode of the 6M recorded on Thursday night, and this was off mic, so this is the first time I'm saying this publicly. I don't want to sound like the old guy in the room when I say this, and I don't mean it this way. So I'll preface that with this. They brought it. If I knew them on a personal level, I would tell them both, I'm super proud of you, because obviously, and they both should be proud of what they turned in on Wednesday night. And I would rather the match have happened than not happen. The other side of me, and it's just a portion, I don't know if I need to see women bleeding in 2021 from a personal standpoint. And that's all subjective. And I not only look at things through the filter of my own eyes, I got a 12-year-old, and that's why I'm against intergender wrestling. Not because I know they can pull it off. I know that the talented workers, male or female, can pull off anything if they're good enough, and I get it. But do I need to have my son see a woman getting punched in the mouth by a guy? The answer is no. But that's me. He knows it's rigged. He knows it's all set up. But he gets it. But it's not an image I want in his head. You know what I mean? So like the image of two women bleeding all over each other, that's just me putting that out there to let anyone know who maybe didn't like it. I feel what you're saying. Okay. It doesn't, however, mean that I disagreed with the match entirely. I didn't. I wouldn't have changed anything. Was it shocking to my eyes in 2021? Honestly, yes, it was. And I've been watching wrestling since I was this big and have seen buckets of blood. I've seen Dusty and Rick bleed all over each other, probably lost a pint each. I get it. But like, I don't know, guys. And again, I don't mean to come off like the old curmudgeon, because I don't want to be that guy. But do you think, is there any part of this that long-term, I don't want to say backfire, is there a part of this long-term that might be looked at as maybe it was a bit too much, or do you think it's going to be taken in the context it's being taken in right now?
Oh, good.
That's right. No, I completely get your argument with that, your other side of it. I would then go as far to say, why does it need to be color at all, men's or women's matches? Unless it calls for it. That's not saying, I want to see it all the time. Like, if it's a feud that calls for it, if it's kind of, they've got to the end, they've been battling it out weeks, months, the story's gone and gone, and the narrative calls for something like that, then use it in that instance. Don't use it for the sake of it. But I do agree, and I've always said the same thing about intergender wrestling. Like, yes, the majority of the audience, like younger audience, know that it's kind of set up, or a good portion of them know it's set up, but it still doesn't set a good example. It still doesn't set a good precedence, and young people are impressionable, and so you've got to be careful. You've got to tread that line carefully. But I'm not against seeing color in that if it calls for it, but it just doesn't always need to be the go-to.
And James, to Troy's point, this match definitely called for color. I agree with you 100%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think, to be honest, it felt like an instant classic. I mean, the fact that everyone's talking about it in such high esteem kind of shows that. And as far as like Blood's concerned with AEW, I feel like it's one of those things they need to kind of be careful they're not overusing it, because there felt like a point where Cody was like bleeding every week.
Yeah.
Like last year. And I was like,
the shock value goes away from it when it's used all the time.
Yeah. I mean, as far as bleeding in women's matches, if I remember rightly, this is like the second women's match that there's been blood. And the first was when like Britt legitimately broke her nose.
In that company, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, look at how impactful both those shots were. Britt's got 2 t-shirts now with her bleeding. One from like that match, one from when she got her nose bust up. So, I mean, if they do it, if they use it sparingly, and this isn't just a women's thing, this is like across the board. It's far more impactful than it is with, like, as I say, using him as an example, but Cody like getting like brushed into and then bleeding all over like he's Ric Flair. So
he stubs his toe on a ring post and suddenly he's gushing. You're like, wait a minute, that's a different location on the body. How'd that happen?
There was like that running joke where it was happening, and it's just like, come on.
You're right. I'm with you. If it's too frivolous, I don't care for it either. Jason Michael Campbell says, as much as I hate AEW for not having actual writers and having wrestlers doing the writing, I think that this was the best women's match I've seen in the history of wrestling. Jason, as I said earlier, it's all subjective. If that's how you feel, go with God. The first part of your comment's interesting. I would much rather see a company full of competent, smart wrestlers booking their own stuff. It doesn't say inmates shouldn't be running the asylum. We saw what happened when that happened. Hello, WCW in the last year of existence. Right? They shouldn't be calling their own shots. But at the same time, for a table full of 30 creative writers who wrote for Lost and Roseanne and Dateline or wherever they came from, to hand a sweaty pro wrestler, here, say this tonight, CM Punk. And he's like, excuse me, that what? I'm not saying this. No, that's too much. WWE has gone way to the extreme of that. I mean, we don't have to get off on a rant here, as I tend to do. But it's just one of those things where, Jason, you're entitled to your opinion, brother, and thanks for watching as always. I disagree with you on the opinion of I don't want creative writers involved. I think the less the better, because dude, a lot of this stuff, and guys, you know this, comes in the moment. Imagine handing Ric Flair, I go back to Rick and Dusty. Imagine handing Rick and Dusty a script in the NWA and saying, now, Dusty, you're mad because Rick said this to you, and Rick, you're going to be mad because Dusty said this too, and you go out there and say this. And dude, that makes me sick, man. I can't get over that.
Yeah, I think with stuff like that, it's kind of like a two-way street, though. So, I mean, the way I look at it, that match would never have happened in WWE because they were allowed to just kind of have complete creative license to do what they wanted to do in that a lot of time. But on the other side, like with some of the like moving the story along, if they've got someone just there guiding them, like that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, when I say guiding, I don't mean having like someone who was like an intern writer on some failed sitcom going, all right, this is what you're going to do today, and then you're doing this next week, and then this next week. I'm talking like, okay, well, that's a good idea. Well, how about trying this instead? So it's just literally creative input. It's not telling them what they've got to do.
That's what it needs to be. Like, personally, coming from like a creative background, like I'm a media producer, and I think it's all very well and good kind of allowing them to just go off and write their own thing and kind of take the narrative where they want. But there also needs to be someone, for me, there needs to be someone there that is in that role, in that position where they have that prior experience. Because yes, these guys perform week in, week out on TV, and yes, they may be capable of writing, their own storylines or scripting their own matches, this, that, and the other, but actual industry experience within that as a producer, a writer, a director, not every performer has that. So there needs to be someone there with that prior experience to at least, like you say, Jay, guide them, and not necessarily be, this is what you should and shouldn't do, this is what you should and shouldn't say, but to be able to say, well, if you're looking at it from a presentation point of view, this is how it would go, this is the kind of narrative or an idea, and then allow the performers' ideas and storylines and stuff to kind of flow within that. But I certainly think there needs to be some sort of steer.
And this is probably peeling back the curtain a bit too much, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. From me personally, but if I'm in the locker room of the pro wrestling company I'm working with, a lot of times if I say the word producer, it sounds all whatever, but if I'm the guy that's working with so-and-so, then basically I come up with, here's where we want to go. How would you like to get there? And it's sort of, here's the destination. What highway do you want to take to get to that town? That's up to you.
Yeah.
But as long as you're here at this meeting time, that's all we care about. So like lay out the blueprint, but then let them know, for lack of a better term, Seth Rollins, let them know you're the architect. You're gonna build the house. You know what I mean? We just want it built in this neighborhood, but you get to build it. So like,
that's it.
Yeah. Just offer advice and try to help them along the way. Jamel says, I don't like the intergender matches. I don't mind the women going hardcore. And Jamel, to your point, Triple H has been on the record saying he's not in favor of intergender matches because, and I've never heard it put this way, but it makes total sense when I heard him say it. If a woman has to prove her mettle by beating a man, that's diminishing her as a talent. Because like, oh, wait a minute. So to be taken as a legit and be taken important, I have to beat a guy? What? Like, and his point was, you want to impress the fans? Have the women need to blow the man off the card. They need to blow him off the card and say, follow that, killer. Yeah. That's what you follow. And I agree with him. That's kind of where I'm coming from too. And this match had to be the main event. Can you imagine if this was the semi-main event on Wednesday night? Dude,
anything else afterwards pales in comparison, doesn't it?
Yes. You would have been like, I'm not going on after that. Are you kidding me right now?
I'm going home.
Back to Jason real quick. Promos are good, but during the matches, that just sucks when the wrestlers do it themselves. But Jason, that goes back to what we said about experience, about being able to handle it, about telling a guy, you got 90 seconds, don't go over if you can help it. All right, see if you can do it. And if you can't do it, maybe next week you pull back a little bit, coach him up, and then say, all right, next week or 2 weeks from now, we're going to give you another shot. Do it in front of a mirror. I've cut a lot of promos in front of a mirror, okay? And it's just, and you got your watch, or you got your phone timer, you see if you can do it. It's not a matter of cramming too much in and not getting your stuff in, as they say, but it's a matter of seeing if you can meet the challenge.
Yeah, it's a difficult gig, man. Like, I do a lot of voiceover stuff, and I struggle when I've got a script in front of me and there's no live cameras. So to just say to someone, you've got 90 seconds, go out there and just make something, like, it's tough, and it's easy to sit here as a fan and knock like performers or whatever on their approach to doing it, or what they say, or how they approach this, that, and the other. But until you're there, until you're thrust in front of a camera, whether it be in front of 5 people or 5,000 people, it is a daunting task.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think they kind of just take it at face value, like, oh no, he screwed his lines. Oh no, she did this. And like, it's hard. It's really hard.
And especially going back to the WWE part of it, try being in that environment and where you want to change on the fly because the moment calls for it, but knowing that you can't, knowing that you have to deliver that last line, which when you say it out loud, you're going to get laughed at. But you were told you have to say this.
Suffering succotash.
In some cases as well, they're given like a rewrite as they're literally walking through Gorilla. So they've got 30 seconds to learn a whole new promo. Yeah,
it's crazy. Hot on the heels of this topic, I'm going to try to share this screen. We're going to hope that this sucker works with 3 of us on here. It should. Let's see. I'm not going to play the audio because obviously I can't. Because they throw us off the air and we get all kinds of trouble. I don't know if you guys have watched this, but on the same night as the match happened, AEW exposed its own business. They showed backstage after the cameras were turned off. Tony Khan is talking to Britt. Britt's smiling. She's not a heel anymore. I mean, listen, I'm old school. I don't care for this. If this had been, I don't know, a month from now, maybe, but the body's not even cold. And what are you doing? What do you guys think? Tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, so be it. What do you think?
So WWE, there were a lot of this nowadays, don't they? With the 24s of the day of this and the day of that. But the difference is they let the dust settle on everything. They don't I have no issue with AEW releasing this video. It's the timing of them releasing the video which kind of annoyed me because it was I've just watched these 2 women go to war. And that's a really nice moment, especially that with.
And there's the champ hugging Thunder Rosa. There's the champ hugging the one that's probably going to challenge her, and they're friends. I'm like, no.
But it again, it's it was a nice moment because obviously it started with those 2 where this sort of real kickstart in the women's division started to happen. But at the same time, it's just you couldn't have waited a week.
Yeah,
even a day. Yeah, they put it out the next day. Oh yeah, this is what happened afterwards. And it was cool. Obviously, when they were interviewing Britt when she was getting treatment and she was talking about oh I am Mox will be so proud of me. I was well, that's cool that she's she literally wants the main event guys to be sort of proud of her because of this match. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, there it is.
But yeah, for me, it was just kind of. Just wait a day. I know they're very eager, rightfully so, because this is kind of their way of saying, okay, we've heard the criticism about our women's division. Now let's shut you up. And if they keep this momentum going, they will silence a lot of the critics. But yeah, it's just.
I think had they waited with that, because it's clearly, I mean, we're talking about it now. An awful lot of people are still on a real big high from that match. Everyone's talking about it. Let that high die down a little bit, then release that and spike people's interest again and give them a reason to come back and watch it.
Yeah.
And you know what? This actually kind of just jumped into my head, and maybe it's off base. Do you think any part of the timing of this has something to do with, look, we just had 2 women bleed all over each other on live national television. Maybe let's show the world that they're okay. Do you know what I mean?
Possibly. I know.
Maybe
didn't TNT say they didn't want too much blood on the actual televised matches? So maybe that's their sort of make good situation with TNT.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Yeah, I don't know, and again, it's the old school guy in me. But I've let go of a lot of this stuff over the years because people talk about, well, fans make it hard, and we're digging for stuff, and it's our fault. And I'm like, fans didn't go on TV in the 90s and tell everybody it was a work. That was Vince McMahon. We never did that. So none of us. That was him. The boss did that. So if you're going to lay blame at someone's door, I tell you blame because he started the ball rolling. So I've let a lot of that go, and it's fine. But like you said, the timing of it, I don't know. I don't want to get too hung up on that. Here's another by the way, unless I haven't made my feelings completely known, kudos to both ladies. And by the way, I'm glad they both seem to be in one piece. I'm very happy to see that. And I feel the same way. Yeah. I feel the same way about any talents, whether it's a curtain jerk or a main event 5-star. I don't care. I want everybody to be safe. So I'm happy to see that. Mm-hmm. Here's another big news item from this week. If you said to me in the midst of the Monday Night Wars, Eric Bischoff is going in the WWE Hall of Fame, I would have said, what are you smoking? How many years can you get for it if you're caught? Like, I don't, dude, again, water under the bridge, but not for nothing. He tried to end your company, not just you, your family, your employees, your talent. He made no bones about it. He went in for the kill. So this is the same Hall of Fame that's got a certain ex-president in it. We won't go into that. I emphasize the word X, okay? All right. So I guess anything's possible, but guys, James, Eric Bischoff in WWE Hall of Fame, what are your thoughts?
I mean, he deserves it, doesn't he? Like, as weird as it is, like, when they announced the NWO last year, I thought, well, why is X-Pac going in over Eric Bischoff? And that's not against X-Pac. It's just, well, they were literally listing it as the 4 original members, and the 4 original members were Hogan, Nash, Hall, Bischoff. Mm-hmm. So it made more sense to me, but obviously it seems like they wanted to just induct Bischoff separately, which is very, very cool. Yeah, very well deserved. Triple H put a tweet out about everything he's kind of contributed to help him and like many other people in wrestling, which just kind of shows like how influential he's been.
Troy, what do you think?
I love it. I think it's cool. I know there's, like you say, however many years ago you had just gone, you're mad. He's definitely not going in, but you can't deny the contribution that he's had kind of on the industry. Like Jay, it surprised me when he wasn't included in the original 4, but I think because of everything he's done previous to this, it's more deserving of a single entry rather than as part of a wider group, because both deserve to be in there, NWO and him, but both for different reasons.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sandy in Germany, it's kind of off topic, but not off topic. Christian needs to be in the Hall of Fame, not going to happen anytime soon. You're right about that. So, okay. All this is good. Sandy in Germany, you're my man. We live in a world, gentlemen, where Eric Bischoff is in the Hall of Fame before Christian. I mean, the irony of this is not lost on me. I don't know. I've had issues with Eric over the years, not personally, never met the guy. He might be a credit to his society. But he does deserve it. I'm not going to argue that. And I have no issue with this at all. I'm not one of those guys that says they're putting him in the Hall of Fame. What are they thinking? First off, one guy makes the call. They didn't ask the pro wrestling writers in the room, hey, you guys want to vote? Ain't nobody voting. It's one dude. That's it. So what do I care? They could put the cell phone in there. Tom's phone's getting the Hall of Fame, pal. I don't care. It's fine. Right? So like, it's all good with me. So I don't get hung up on that. It's just, again, bad blood. If you take that stuff into account, I don't want to get too hung up on that, as I said before, but nobody can deny the spark that he brought, the creativity that he brought, the things that he brought to the business that are still being used today. We're still talking about the NWO. I mean, if no NWO, no Bullet Club. I mean, and Bullet Club has created how many stars out of that faction alone? My God.
Yep.
Legacy.
It's mad. Right? You think if the Monday Night Wars had not happened, had everything Bischoff done not happened, what would the wrestling industry be like now? Would we have stuff like AEW, as a legitimate competitor to WWE, if it wasn't for everything that came before on that same network? There's so much. It's undeniable that he goes in.
Yeah, there's a place. I flash back. Maybe I am getting hung up on this. I'm flashing back to the night that he was fired from Monday Night Raw, and they threw him in the back of a dumpster or of a trash truck, and that was how he left the program. And I'm thinking, obviously Eric had to be okay with that. Obviously, he's not going to do anything he doesn't want to do. There was, I'm sure, no arm twisting going on. You better get in that truck, pal. I don't think that happened. But at the same time, that's a statement. Putting Hunter over on Sting is a statement. Putting Triple H over on Booker T is a statement.
Especially
our guys are
put
better
him in
than
the,
your guys.
Truck.
You know, it's a statement. All these years later, it's still a statement. They're more hung up on it than I am. You know what I mean? But yet they're going to let him in the hall. I don't know. I'm surprised more than I am anything. Let's see. Mark says, are they even going to do anything for last year's? Yes, they're going to have 2 Hall of Fame classes this year. Yep.
Yeah, man.
What's the details, guys? Because I'm a little fuzzy on it. Is it one night, one the next, or is it the same event, or what?
I think it's all on one, isn't it?
They're doing it all the Tuesday before Takeover Stand and Deliver. And I believe they're recording it the Tuesday and Thursday before the Hall of Fame actually is. So they're just
so it won't be live.
Kind of like this, like a Zoom call. So they'll have the person presenting it and then the person giving a quick speech.
They best not. I was say they best not drag it out over 2 nights because there is already more than enough wrestling to watch that week.
I
like to book a week off work.
It means if we got a hillbilly gym situation, we can just kind of like cut the call.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, who would have ever thought? Who would have ever thought in the pandemic era someone would go, well, thank God the pandemic happened because, man, you cut these speeches short. That's terrible. I don't mean that. Everybody calm down. These are just jokes, kids. These are just jokes. I regretted that the moment I said it. I've never made light of the thing here. I always tell people to wear their stupid masks and stop being dumb so we can all get back to our lives. By the way, kids watching, wear your stupid masks, okay? I want to go back to some live wrestling shows, all right? Shut up. All right, so let's move on from that little faux pas. Let's go to a short, quick little Fastlane preview. I say short because there's like 2 matches because they're going to do that thing they do where after SmackDown tonight, it's going to be, hey, there's 4 more. Now we got like 12 matches and 25 people.
They've sort of announced a few through the week, haven't they?
They've got 1, 2, they got 5. This could take all day. But I'm going to start from the ground up. How about we go from the top down? That'd be easier. Universal Champion Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. James, is this a throwaway, not just throwaway title match? Is this a throwaway event before WrestleMania? Do you think?
So what's intriguing about this to me is that there's a match tonight on SmackDown, which is Edge versus Jey Uso, where the winner becomes the special guest enforcer. Now, Edge isn't losing to Jey Uso in the build to Mania. Edge isn't losing the match till Mania, let's be real now. But it opens the door that Edge could like get involved, potentially cost Daniel Bryan, and then Daniel Bryan gets put in and make it a triple threat. So while I think the match itself pretty much a foregone that Roman's going to win, I feel like there may be a bit more storyline ramifications than just, Edge is at ringside to make sure Roman's in cheat.
Yeah.
They're laying the groundwork, and on a given night, or in a given day, I should say, I would tell you, I love the fact that there seems to be a plan in place. The Friday before the event is highly questionable. It is what it is. I don't know if the term last minute buys applies anymore. Last minute subscription service buys, maybe? I don't know. It's amazing how we fast forward. And I said this, I think, on last week's main event to Phil. It kind of feels like WWE was getting their way when Roman was the top face and everybody hated him. And they're getting their way now when he's the top heel and everybody hates him or everybody loves him. They're still getting their way. Like, they didn't really change anything. They changed his sides, but they're still getting their way. He's still their guy. So, like, really all they did was change his affiliation, and now people praise him. No one praised him when he was babyface for obvious reasons. But it's so funny how we go from that era of, I don't care about Roman, I want Daniel. Yeah, but here's Roman. I don't care about Roman, I want Daniel. Roman's in the Rumble. I don't care about Roman, I want Daniel. And now years later, we're all sitting here going, Daniel's not winning this match. It's not happening. Isn't that funny how that works?
Crazy.
Yeah. Today's a day of bitter irony for yours truly. I don't know why.
That's also, though, kind of a testament to how well they've built Roman in the last, 6 months, though, isn't it? Like,
yes,
the fact that I can't see him losing to anybody, even WrestleMania. I think he's going to end up coming out champion somehow. I honestly can't see a scenario where he drops that title anytime soon. I could be very wrong on that, but that's a testament to how well they've like protected them and built them up.
Yeah.
Shane says, "Do we even care about WrestleMania this year?" If
Yes.
I said the word care, I don't know if I'm telling the truth. I'm intrigued. I'm going to watch it. What do you guys think?
I'd never use the word care. I'm always intrigued. I'm always excited for WrestleMania. It was the biggest event of the year. If you don't get excited for WrestleMania, are you a wrestling fan? Like, there's something on there for everyone at some point. Like, I've never watched a WrestleMania and just gone, that entire thing from start to finish was trash. There's always something on there. There's something for everyone. If you can't find something over 2 nights of wrestling, don't bother.
Troy, you're redeeming yourself from your tardiness, my friend. That is a great positive outlook to have. Last time I'm bringing it up, swear to God.
That's a lie.
I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you about all of it. No, I'm just kidding. I've said, you echo my sentiments. I've said multiple times, even if you hate 9/10 of it, there's always something, hopefully, you can take out of it. And if you can't, even if, dude, I have come away from shows saying, yeah, but did you see the drop kick in that third match? That thing, I can't even forget that drop kick. I'm not even joking. Like, out of 6 matches, I'm like, dude, but that drop kick, I know the show sucked, but man, did you see that? That was a thing of beauty. Like, sometimes you anchor on to what means something to you and you go with it. I mean, James, that's, as wrestling fans who get disappointed all the time, we kind of have no choice but to look for the good in it, right?
That's it. Like, it's got to a point, especially like I was taking a pretty extended hiatus from watching WWE on the regular before I started doing this podcast, and it, like, the first couple of weeks, it was like a slog, just trying to sit there and go, right, I've got to find something good about this. I've got to find something good about this. Now it's easy. Like, now I know for a fact there's, like, Raw is for the most part dreadful, but there's always something good on there to redeem it. There's always one good thing on there that makes me go, okay, that was good. Like everything Drew and Sheamus have done recently. Sheamus and Bobby Lashley had a fantastic match on Raw this week. Mm-hmm. But it's again, it's just like, it's just kind of, if you let all the bad stuff kind of overwhelm you, you don't have time for the good stuff. Mm-hmm. And so you've just got to keep an open mind. That's the easiest way to do it.
Dwelling on it too much.
Yeah.
I mean, a positive, rightly or wrongly, for Mania this year, it's going to be fans back. We're going to get some genuine reactions again.
That's going to be nice.
Fun. I mean, like I say, it's rightly or wrongly whether they should or shouldn't be getting fans. I don't know. Like, I'm not in a position to say, but as someone watching it at home and hearing that reaction, that makes me invest more. If I was watching Mania from last year where there's no crowd in the Performance Center, they weren't even chiming in crowd noises then, were they? It was just dead. It was flat.
Yep. I mean,
we're getting that. Like, I'm going to react more when I can hear genuine reactions from a crowd rather than what they want me to hear.
And, you know, here's a moment I want for Mania. On night 1 of Mania, I want somebody awesome, because, you know, they're all lining up saying, can we go first? Can we be the first match? Yeah. Imagine coming out of that curtain, the first guy out or girl, and you're the first one, because those people are going to go nuts. And I hope it's not Vince. I don't want it to be Vince.
Oh, no, please no.
Or Hunter.
Judging by the news today, it's probably going to be Hogan.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
they've just announced Hogan and Titus O'Neil as the 2 hosts, haven't they? So it's probably going to be Hogan.
Is it a coincidence that it's Hogan and Titus O'Neil? Here's my controversial take of the day, gentlemen.
We said exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Titus is a quality human being. I don't know if I can say the same thing about Hogan. To be fair, I don't know either one of them personally. However, I'm going off what I see, and what I've seen from Titus tells me he's a quality human being. There's enough people to testify in the court of law with their hand on the Bible that he's a quality human being. So I would hope that Titus is not doing this because he feels he has to, versus, hey, look, everybody deserves a second chance. Let's see what he's made of. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I can not be okay with it, but he has to be okay with it. And if he doesn't like it, he shouldn't have to do it. I mean,
yeah, 100%.
So let's go to second match. WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax versus Sasha Banks. And I don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks. It's how I feel. Versus Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Hot take, gentlemen. Banks and Belair win the titles. That's what I think.
Oh.
Bam.
I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I'd rather see those tag team championships on anyone else. But we were talking about this the other day. I hate this whole, these two are in a feud. Okay, they've got a match in a month's time. How do we keep them kind of relevant in this feud? We'll just put them as a tag team. No, you don't have to do that.
Nope.
Yeah, did the same thing on NXT this week as well, didn't he?
Yeah, but at least with NXT, it doesn't happen all the time.
Also,
and it was to
force there.
Exactly. It furthered like what happened after the match. Whereas this is just like, well, we've got nothing else to do. I'd rather not have them on the card and just save them until Mania than just force them into this thing.
It feels like they're trying to kind of turn Sasha heel, but they haven't quite figured out how they're going to do it. So they're doing this tag team match, and it feels like they were going to pull the trigger on that at Elimination Chamber when they did the exact same match. Obviously, they didn't. And now it feels like, okay, well, they can actually say, we've lost twice now, and Sasha turns heel.
Yeah.
They could have done that without involving tag team titles.
And they've done this with you for years. Yeah, they've done this for years with pairing up opponents and rivals. And you said it best when you said that, they're absolutely trying to keep them linked up on TV. And I can't say I'm crazy about this, but I do think that Banks and Belair could walk away with the gold. This logo looks familiar to these gentlemen. By the way, kids, my apologies for not telling you where these gentlemen are from. The United.
I wonder who's wrote that.
I was getting ready to call you the United Wrestling Podcast, the Untitled Wrestling Podcast. Only time the tag team champs fighting each other for world title that was good was HBK versus Cena at Mania 23. That seems like an opinion that you guys have heard before.
That's not a biased opinion at all.
That's we did a podcast of our favorite tag teams. And Aaron, who does the podcast with us, actually is one of his favorite tag teams of all time was John Cena and Shawn Michaels because of this feud. And any chance he gets to bring it up, he will. Even when we're absolutely trashing the idea of, here we go again. The challenges are teaming up and becoming tag title holders.
Yeah, but this one time
he'll bring it up and they worked when they did this. It's well, that's the problem. It worked when they did it then, so now they think it works all the time.
Right. Well, there was the one time, remember? And everyone's like, nah, that didn't work. Oh, it sure did. Yeah, that's good. I like that. I don't know. I don't really have great thoughts on this. It is what it is, but it's all for Sasha and Bianca. It's more for Bianca than anybody else. We'll see what happens. Intercontinental Champion Big E versus Paulo Cruz. I go back to the main event last week, and Phil and I debated. Phil's got thoughts on this, mixed reviews, mixed feelings on how he feels about it. I said last week, and I maintain it, when I look into his eyes, I see trepidation. I see someone that is kind of buying what he's saying, but maybe not, because he's still, it's like trying on a new shirt. You're kind of feeling it, So I don't know how I feel about the whole gimmick thing yet. I think we got to wait and see how it plays out. But
I like everything but the accent.
If
he'd have come into it with the accent, fine.
Yeah.
But you've been talking with an American accent for 4 or 5 years, and now suddenly I'm meant to just what happened? It's I remember this story came out years ago. This woman that got put into a coma, she got knocked over by a car or something, and she came out and she had a Chinese accent, but she was American. That's what it comes. It just comes across as really hokey. I'm like, did that really happen?
Wow.
But I know his gimmick before he joined WWE was it the Yuha Nation, and that was his which is fine. If he'd have come into it with that, I'd have believed it. but it's just such a weird U-turn. I like everything else about it, though. I think it's really cool. Just drop the accent. But
it does
there's
seem
kind
like...
of no coming back from that now, is there? Like, he's already committed to doing that. So if in a month, 2 months' time, when he decides to kind of give that up and go, okay, it wasn't working, and he comes back out of his American accent, you're like, well, I'm definitely not taking you seriously now.
In their world, they can take it back any time by having him come out and say, fine, I'll hide my accent. Is that what everybody wants? I'll hide it again from you. I mean, dude, I'm with you. Everything but the accent. I love the two guys in the camo in the ring. It's very Public Enemy. It's very Black Panther, if I can say that. I mean, I'm a major the aesthetic of it, because anything, this is going to sound weird coming from the white guy, anything that makes the white fan go, ugh, dude, I love it. If it's disturbing and a little off-putting, I think we should be willing to take risks in those terms, in those directions. Why not? It's 2021 where athletes are wearing logos and stuff and being allowed to kneel and say, and they should be. Sorry, it's my show. I'll say what I want. But no, it's a new day, a new age, man. I love that aesthetic. I love that look. James, is it too soon for Apollo to get that belt? It feels like Big E's hot. I mean, do you want to warm or heat Apollo up to the degree of give him the title Sunday?
I think they've kind of got themselves in a bit of a bad position in the timing of it all, where it's a new gimmick. It's kind of a refresh for Apollo. And obviously the whole feud is that he keeps losing to Big E, and now he's kind of like going back to his roots, back to his heritage. At the same time, I think Big E still has a lot to do with that belt. I feel like he's got a long run in him with that belt, and it's like the next big step to legitimize him to being a credible challenger to whoever's the world champion in 12 months' time, next year's WrestleMania. But obviously there's a lot of groundwork for that, so he needs to be protected. I mean, it would benefit both guys. That's a silly thing to say, obviously, with a title involved. It would benefit both guys, either one walking out the champion. I see it being Big E, but part of me thinks it probably should be Apollo, just because of the whole rebrand. Because otherwise it's like already kind of stuck in the mud from the get-go.
Yeah, I agree. And man, we've used the word timing a lot on this show today, Troy, but James is right. The timing seems like, if you're going to commit to this, Troy, and if you're going to commit to this game, if you're going to sell this guy as this thing, if he loses on Sunday, I mean, where does he go next? He's not going to go face Roman. So if you don't give him that title, what's next? Tag titles? I mean, what do you do after that?
Yeah, I don't know. I know what you mean. Like, they've booked themselves into an awkward position. It feels like they almost have to give him it. Otherwise, what's the point of this turn? What's the point of this new character? But then it's too early for me to take it off Big E. He deserves a long run with that to really cement himself. So I don't know. The best thing that this can end up in is a no contest. And Apollo just decides to move on to something else. I don't know. And they build him up, and then in another 6 months' time, he takes it off Big E.
I'd be okay with that. It'll be interesting to see if they have that kind of patience with this.
Probably not.
Where it's,
definitely not.
Hot shot booking. I need a hot shot booking button. I need someone to have said the words hot shot booking in a big dramatic way. I'll totally take it and make a button out of it. Dennis has got a big one. Just want to rant about a hot topic. People using past finishers. They are not finishers. Using HBK as an example. Sweet Chin Music, Young Bucks. You guys get the point. People kicking out. I'm going to address this real quick. I know you guys have seen this multiple times. This is the brand of wrestling that we've all been exposed to for years and years and years. It's the brand of wrestling these guys and these young guys are putting over as what works and how it's supposed to be. I watched Cody versus Pentagon, and he hit the Canadian Destroyer, and then he hit the Cody Cutter, and Pentagon kicked out. And the announcer just like, oh, he kicks out. And in my world, I go, oh my God, he kicked out. I can't. Is he Superman? Oh, how's he not dead? But we accept it so much, it's not a big deal. So like, I was giving AEW crap about exposing their business, but it kind of feels like a little bit of everybody's exposing their business. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but Dennis, I feel your pain. I get it. But Dennis, here, I'll say this to you. The guys will probably agree with me here. If you're going to be a fan in 2021, you got to learn to take the good with the bad, because there's a lot of that happening. Why did he hit 3 finishers in a row and he got kicked out at 1? Are you kidding? Yeah.
I mean, the thing is as well, like, people talk about the super kick thing like it's a new thing. In the Attitude Era, everybody was using DDTs left, right, and center.
And that was Jake Roberts' finisher.
And Jake, like, literally, like 3 or 4 years prior, Jake Roberts was like putting people away with that. And of course, Jake had the perfect response to it, being, well, no one could do it as good as me. That's why I was winning matches with it. Which is, it's the only way to really look at it.
Yes.
No one does it as good as Shawn Michaels. That's why he puts people away. Whereas the Young Bucks have to hit like 30, 40 super kicks in a match just to like get a bit of offense in.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of people recently that I can recall that actually just going to the DDT that use that as a fit. Like Alexa Bliss used the DDT as a finisher for a bit, and John Moxley, Dean Ambrose had it as well. Although it was only when they changed Dirty Deeds, because before he just drove the face into the mat, face like front ways. But
it's still DDT. That was just a reverse DDT.
No, I guess so. Yeah.
Now it's a double arm underhook and it's a high angle.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's going more of a high angle. To take that move, like Kenny took it amazing at Revolution. I think he jumped up and like, bam.
Kenny takes it like he's trying to kill himself every time.
Yeah.
It's horrible the way he takes it.
I get what the guy's saying though. Like, there doesn't feel like there's any moves that are protected anymore. Really, nothing feels like a kind of I've seen the kick out of that. It's just like,
and no one kicked.
And no one to it.
Yeah, you're right. And James Bliss, no one ever kicked out of the Stone Cold Stunner, but when it happened, it's like, wait a minute, no one kicks out of the Stone Cold Stunner. Now, granted, only few people are actually using that, Kevin Owens being one of them, but like the first time I ever saw someone kicked out of the Stunner, I was like, okay, now it's, I mean, James, to Troy's point, how many moves are still protected? Can you think of one?
There's one really weird one which baffles me that it is still as protected as it is, and that's the End of Days. No one, to my knowledge, has ever kicked out the End of Days. And even to the point where if Corbin's not winning a match, he's not hitting it. Other than that, like, there's not a lot.
Crazy.
Have many people kicked out of any of AJ's in WWE?
Styles Clash. Has anyone kicked out of?
Rarely.
I feel like
if at all.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Cena did in like one of their matches, but that was like where it warranted it.
It makes sense in those situations rather than he's kicked out of his finisher. Just weekly.
I've got no issue with it if it's like a big marquee match or if it's like a blood feud or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, they're going to have to do something extra to put this person away.
Yeah.
But it's when it's just like a match on Raw. It's like, oh God, such
also,
a kicked out of their finisher.
With that, you have to look at the move that it is. Like, if it's an impactful move, protect it. They shouldn't kick out of it. If your finish is just I don't know, like Karrion Kross's finisher, I don't quite get. It's a forearm to the back of the head.
To the back of the head. It's
just a punch to the back of the head, and yet it's not. I'm not saying it's protected. He's only just started using it, but it's like, well, people are getting forearm left, right. So that's not a finisher. It's not an impactful finisher. So protect it if it deserves it.
And then compare that, Troy, to Will Ospreay's hidden blade in New Japan, where he gets a running start from across the ring and hits the hidden blade on the back of the head. You're like, oh my God, he just killed him. I mean, it's, I think the delivery has a lot to do with it too. If it's a half-hearted, you're tired, you can always say, well, because on commentary, I've often said, especially if I know that maybe there was a slip, I'll try to help cover by saying something to the effect of, well, I don't know if he got all of that. He got some of it, that kind of thing. So, that makes sense. That's a whole other show, brothers. I could get on with that all day long. 2 matches advertised left for the card. Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. And what I like to call, oh my God, are we doing this again? Now, I love both these cats. It's not personal. My fear, and I said this last week, I think it was, apparently if you missed last week's show, you missed an awesome show. I keep referencing it. I don't mean to do that. Go back in the archives, kids. I don't know. But I love Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. I really do. However, is this too much in a row of the same match? Like at some point, should there be a break here and we blow it off at Mania or not? I don't know. But like Troy, I'll start with you this time. Does it feel like too much with these two guys?
A little bit, yeah. Like I'm enjoying everything they're doing. Like I think they've had some really great matches. That one it was awesome. It kind of does feel like the way. It also feels like this is something we should have got at Mania. Like their blow off should have been at Mania, but it feels like we're getting it all like 2-3 weeks early. They were also meant to have some Elimination Chamber, and then Drew just got thrown in the chamber. So it's almost like they've realized, oh, well, we should have done this here. We're just going to bundle everything we would have done in this kind of tight gap here. Yeah, but for me, they should be having something. They still might do. It may end up being a triple threat, I guess. But yeah, it's a bit much. I think they could have staggered it a bit more. It just feels week after week, and they have all been really good matches. But it's this thing that I find WWE tend to do is there'll be a big reaction from the fans, like, "Oh my God, did you see that match? Oh, that was amazing! It was so good! I can't believe how good it was!" And they kind of catch wind of it and go, "Oh, well, we'll just put that on for the next 2-3 weeks." Because people liked it first time round, rather than going, well, okay, we know that next time that match happens, people will tune in, people enjoyed it. We'll stagger it a bit. We'll build it up a bit. No, we'll just keep riding that wave. And so, yeah, it definitely should have been spread out a bit more for me. It's a bit too soon.
So, again, the logo, triple threat for a WWE title with Sheamus involved. I'll put it to you this way. Doesn't he need to pin Drew in order to be considered worthy of that? Or do we, instead of we don't care about whether or not he deserves a title shot, right?
It's a last man standing match, isn't it?
That's right.
So,
yeah.
He could beat Drew and then get inserted in, I guess.
I feel like Lashley's coming in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's weird. I feel Sheamus really deserves to be a part of it because the work he's putting in, like, the last 2 months in particular, he's been phenomenal. He's been one of the best guys, most consistent workers in WWE for my money. That being said, I feel like there's a lot more intrigue in just a Drew versus Lashley match, and it might end up taking a bit away from Lashley if their feud kind of bubbles over into that match as well. So obviously you don't want that happening because Lashley is finally being recognized as the star, a lot of people have kind of known he was for a long time.
We all sort of knew. Yeah.
It also feels like this is kind of the blow-off match, the end match.
Yeah.
Which, again, I wish it had gone to Mania because I feel like that's a match that both those guys wanted, and it's a match that a lot of specifically British fans from knowing the history, but obviously from people who kind of read up a bit on it would know they've got a lot of history, and WWE have told us multiple times in the last couple of weeks that it would warrant a WrestleMania match.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. It's not that I don't want to see it. It's just, the timing. God, the whole thing is off in my head, but we'll see how it plays out. There's one more match advertised. Randy Orton versus Alexa Bliss, or as I like to call it,
hot garbage.
You knew that was coming. We're an hour in, and it took me that long.
That's a record, isn't it?
It is. It is. I used to preface all this with the comment of, "Listen, I'm sorry. I know I like everybody involved. I'm done. I'm over this. I don't care anymore. I haven't cared in a long time. It's doing nothing for me. One more close up on Alexa with the contacts in, doing that stupid smile, trying to convince me she's an 8-year-old little girl with the pigtails. I'm over it. And this sounds like I'm venting. Maybe I am. Just bring Wyatt back. Just get him back on TV because I can't take it anymore. Is this in the slightest? Are you guys digging this? Or is it entertaining? James, are you like, holy God, hey, Alexa's on TV. Can we get in here and watch this? Be honest with me, James.
I'm at the point that I just switch off when anything's happening with it now, because it's the same stuff every week. There was talk about just before Royal Rumble that this match was meant to, like, the big blow-off match was meant to happen at the Rumble between Bray and Randy, and then Randy and Bray were going to go on to different things at Mania. And then obviously they've kind of gone, well, we can drag this out to Mania. It sounds like there's going to be a redesign for The Fiend. Maybe there's been a bit of a setback with obviously everything going on in the world with like getting the new costume or whatever it is that's getting redesigned made. But at the same time, it's like, well, you've obviously had this plan since December, because that's when you wrote them off TV.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd think they'd have at least got the wheels in motion before they decided to write him off TV to then have him return. It's going to be some kind of weird cinematic thing, isn't it? And I'm looking forward to the actual blow-off match, because I think especially if it's going to be a Firefly Funhouse match, that's going to be interesting, because the one with Cena was insane. I'm just bored of everything building up to it.
James, good pull. Troy, are we looking at a Firefly, easy for me to say, Funhouse match where we get to see past iterations of Randy Orton in a cinematic aspect?
I hope so. I really, really hope so. Like we said, last year's one with Cena was so much fun, really, really clever, really well written. And I hope we go down that. However, I feel it might not. Me and Jay have discussed it a few times, where with Cena, it was more him recognizing, I probably should have done this. Yeah, I probably should have put him over. And that kind of like character kind of dissection. Orton's not in a position where that needs to happen. Orton's not going, while I'm kind of going part-time now, I'm going to Hollywood, I'm spending more time with my family. Like, he's still a very active, full-time guy on the roster. So that's not to say that they don't have to have a Firefly like Funhouse match, but I don't think it's going to have a same feel as the one last year if it does happen, because the way that one was done was for a very specific reason. It's going to be a cinematic match. And I think Bray's a very, very creative, clever guy.
Yeah. And
it won't disappoint. But the build-up has just been drivel for the most part. It intrigued me initially, but the last 2-3 weeks I've just gone to make a cup of tea whenever that comes on. I want the blow-off match. I want the Fiend back, and let's forget this Black Goo stuff ever happened.
Oh my God. Oh, it's so bad. Toby says, I'll die if Alexa no-sells the punt kick on Sunday.
I'd actually love that.
You both, Toby.
That's wow. The kind of madness that I'm here for.
Wow. Yes. So, James, you see the Black Goo, you're like, oh, God, I want some more of that. Puke that stuff, man. That's great.
The Black Goo's too far.
Is it really?
The Black Goo's where I'd draw the line, but if she just no-sells a move like the Fiend, that'd be pretty cool.
So, listen, I'm a comic books and sci-fi and guy over here. That came from something. I want to say the X-Files movie. Where'd that come from with the am I just forgetting?
Ultimate Warrior and Papa Shango?
Yeah, but it wasn't wrestling related. I think it's sci-fi something with black. Maybe I'm misremembering.
The first thing I remembered, and it might be because me and Troy are currently playing it together at the moment, is Resident Evil 5.
Oh yeah.
Nice. With like the Ouroboros, where like they start crying, comes out the eyes, tears, and it comes out the mouth as well.
Yeah.
So listen, that by the way, kids, there's your Fastlane matches. Go with God and enjoy them.
There'll be another 10 announced on SmackDown, I'm sure.
Yeah, there'll be the card will go from, what did I say, 6? Let's say
5, 6,
5 to like 12, and with guest stars and a rapper and a fitness
probably
model.
Have a fatal 4-way for the 24/7 title. They love them.
Yeah, the whole roster, camera guys jumping in trying to get the belt. So people have mentioned during this whole show about Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon.
Hot garbage.
Oh
yeah.
Only in WWE, gentlemen. Only in WWE would they say, well, Shane McMahon's a star, pal, and to get in the ring with Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. Oh, like I
He's the best in the world. How dare you?
Well, yeah, right. Remember when CM Punk was going around with Heyman saying, yeah, but I'm a doctor. Remember that? And it was so dumb. And they delivered it straight face. It's like, yeah, but you don't understand. He's a doctor. That kind of thing. Yeah, it's the same deal.
It's
mean,
nonsense.
Yeah, he couldn't, dude. He can't punch his way out of a paper bag. The only thing safe in the ring from Shane McMahon is his opponent because he never makes contact. So, someone, here's the task. Convince me why I should want to see these two at WrestleMania. What do you got? Crickets.
I'm not a miracle worker.
I can't heal the sick, Tom. Good God.
I'm not a doctor.
I'm just a guy.
James is like, see the thing I've been drinking? I didn't turn it into this. It was already this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I won't waste anyone's time.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's like they've got nothing for Braun, but they want him on the card. So this is what they've got.
Yeah.
So they're giving him the best in the world.
To really solidify him as the big man on the brand.
I couldn't even say that to convince myself there. Did you see as well, like on the actual YouTube footage of this whole stupid angle he did this week with like the green slime? They cut out Shane hitting Braun with the camera, so it was literally Braun like chasing Shane, and then the next minute Shane was on the top rope hitting the elbow drop through the table.
What?
It was like, well, how did Shane get him there?
Wow, that's
nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Good thing I haven't had lunch yet. I'd be nauseous right now. Real quick, here's some ratings, kids, if anyone cares. This week's SmackDown 2.01 million compared to 2.16 from last week. Raw holding steady in the mid 1.80 mark. So there you go, guys. Whether or not anyone cares, it's entirely up to you. Let's power through the last bit of this show here, folks. This is usually 3 Raw and 3 SmackDown takeaways of the week. This time we thought we'd switch it up. Let's get some quick gut reactions. What do you guys think of the Pinnacle on AEW? James, what do you think, man?
I am very excited for this group. Did you see what Cash Wheeler put on Twitter? He put like it was kind of like a usual suspects like gag reel thing. Of not gag reel, like a hype reel of like every time all of them have mentioned we're the pinnacle of pro wrestling over like the last sort of 6-7 months, and like even in stuff like Wardlow was just on a podcast and he was like, oh yeah, I really admire these guys, and listed all the members off. It was like, geez, that's really clever. Just little things like that. Sometimes that's all you need to just like. Then you look back, and we were talking about it on the podcast when they formed. Like we were looking back, like thinking about like MJF and Sean Spears just having a bottle of wine in the crowd on Dynamite and thinking nothing of it at the time, but then now being like, well, that's where it started.
Right.
Really, really, really good. I like the grouping as well. Like even Spears, a lot of people have been very critical of Spears being part of it. I personally think he's quite a good fit because he is a veteran. He's got similar sort of like air to him as like Tully had in the Four Horsemen almost. But yeah, very exciting.
So Troy, is this kind of a different question for you? Is the Pinnacle a 15-minute fix, or are we talking a year or better with this group? What do you think?
I hope they run with it for ages. I think it's cool. I think MJF, as much as I dislike him, or rather his character, it's a great character where he's thoroughly dislikable, and that's exactly what he's meant to be. It makes sense that he's got this faction around him now, and it needs to prolong. Like, I like factions. I've always been a big fan of them. And this is pretty cool. I love the name, like the Pinnacle, which is super. And yeah, like you say, it's kind of that perfect fit. You've got a good mix of various people in there. And yeah, just long may it continue, I think.
I love when they came out for that promo that Tully walked out with MJF. I think for this to be considered more than just the smarmy, cocky heels way of getting revenge on the world, you got to have Tully shoulder to shoulder to show that there's a technician behind the scenes pulling the strings. I hope Tully is portrayed as the puppeteer for a lot of this. I think that's a great spot for him. And he can still cut a promo. Say what you will about him getting back in the ring, but he can still cut a promo. Man, dude, I'm here for that. The second takeaway this week, kids, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, more of this. This is, I didn't know how much I was going to love this. If there was a yay awesome button, I'd have one. This is freaking great. It's so good that I can't even look at it. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm just like, oh, I can't, don't show it to me. It's too good. I'm not worthy of this. I'm not even making it up. I said this a couple of times now. If someone put somebody in front of me and said, Tom, here's a non-fan, you get to show him one promo from one guy today to try to convince him, I'd say, cue up Jon Moxley. And now I would say, cue up John with Eddie. Because if I saw that promo and didn't know it was connected to, I'm like, that was awesome. What is this? Is this a movie? Is this a buddy cop film? Is this?
That's exactly what I was going to say. A buddy cop film.
Yes.
I'd watch this as a TV series, just those two, every single week.
Good stuff, man. I mean, what do you think about, or do we see, I personally think we're seeing tag team titles in their future. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like the timing's a bit odd, though, doesn't it? Like, obviously, Moxley was meant to be taking a bit of time off after Revolution, and then the explosion didn't happen, so he couldn't. I'd definitely like to see them team up, even if it's like a case Moxley gets taken out and then Eddie goes after Kenny, and then when Moxley comes back, they come after the tag titles. I definitely think this is a bit more of a long-term team. They just need the way to quickly turn Eddie Kingston from being one of the most like hated heels to one of the most beloved baby faces, and what better way to do it than basically have Murtaugh and Riggs from Lethal Weapon in a team form.
It's great stuff. Great stuff.
If we get a Lethal Weapon remake with Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley, I'm here for it as well.
You can't make this up, and you can't rehearse this, and you can't write a script. This is these two guys playing off of each other. They know where they're comfortable. They know what works. They're friends. I mean, it's Eddie Kingston in large doses. Eddie Kingston. It kind of feels like, and no disrespect. Eddie Kingston in doses with John. Wow, that's gold. And I love Eddie personally. I love Eddie. I'm just saying if Eddie were the headliner, he was cutting promos 2 or 3 on the show. At some point, it kind of feels like maybe less should be more because he's so effective. We don't want to overexpose that and drive it home too much.
Yeah.
Man, you could put these two anywhere on the card in any given situation, and you better be sure you don't book them against a babyface combination of any kind, because those two guys are going to heel out that night because John and Eddie are so good at what they're doing. Like, I can't say enough good things about this. This kind of came out of nowhere. Brian Cage leaving Team Taz. Was this Troy, I don't know about you, but when he got in Sting's face out loud to nobody, because I talk to my devices sometimes, out loud to nobody, I said, he's going to give Sting props. Watch this. And he did. Did you see that coming?
No, I'm as confused as anyone else. It's way out left field. But then saying that, I don't know. I like Brian Cage, and to have him just kind of now go off, be out of that, and they can bring other people into Team Taz. But I just, it would be nice to see how he kind of flourishes outside of that.
Brian Cage just looks like a world champion because of his build, because of his physique, because of what he can bring to the table. I mean, what kind of chance, James? So a lot of times we talk about what we'd like to see for a guy and how much a guy could accomplish. We always throw the world title in the conversation because that's just what we do. I mean, you can't really do that right now with Omega and Christian and Moxley and, so like, what are we leading toward here? Just making him a big time baby face? Is that what we're talking about?
I feel like everybody that they're kind of building up at the moment, it feels to me that it's a foregone conclusion that Hangman's taking that belt off Kenny at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know when, but it will happen. I feel like it's going to be a long time till Kenny does lose the belt, though. So now their goal is to make people feel credible, and that they belong around the main event picture. So when Kenny needs a challenger, they can just slot them in. But also when Kenny drops the title, there's a whole sea of fresh faces there waiting for opportunities that they probably wouldn't have got while they're waiting to put the belt on Hangman.
They've done exactly the same in NXT UK, where they've built up 4 or 5 different guys that, they're not going to take it immediately, but when that opportunity comes, it won't feel unnatural for them to be slotted into that position.
Yeah, and he just looks like a megastar. I mean, obviously, and he can work. He can flat out work. So, it'd be interesting to see what they do with him moving forward. 3 NXT takeaways of the week. Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly. More of this. They're just getting started in this. I will say that the whole cop thing kind of felt a bit weird. I don't know if you go that direction on live TV in 2021 with cops, and it kind of feels weird to me for some reason. But, other than that, I get this, and this is leading, I think, to in any other era, I would say this is leading to a First Blood match, but I think it's probably leading to an I Quit match, maybe, a steel cage match, a Hell in a Cell, maybe. That'd be interesting.
Last man standing, falls count anywhere, something along those lines, or even loser leaves NXT before they send Cole packing.
I was going to say it could be like similar to like Gargano Ciampa, where they do like an unsanctioned match, because Regal keeps going on about the fact that Kyle O'Reilly isn't cleared, which makes me think they're probably going to do an unsanctioned match and loser leaves NXT.
Yeah. And I've said before, I don't know if Adam Cole needs to go anywhere. I love him on the NXT brand because I think that's where he best fits. I mean, I can end up being wrong, but I think this is where they best utilize him. But to this point, I'm totally dialed in. I love this feud. Walter, and I will say it the way Nigel McGuinness pronounces it because I love it. Walter makes an impact. I love this guy so much. I've loved him for years. He's Brock Lesnar without the negativity from fans. He is, and you could maybe make the argument he's, I don't want to say better, maybe all around. I mean, that's another conversation for another time. But I love him being back on the brand.
Yeah,
and with him being where he is, and I know it's an NXT UK thing happening, where he's kind of crossing over whatnot, but. I mean, he is, guys, he's a main event. He's the main event. I mean, how long before it's Walter versus Finn Balor, maybe? I mean, are we getting there to that point at some point, you think?
They were trying to build it, weren't they, for
Takeover Dublin.
Before, obviously, the world shut. So I think that seems to be the trajectory by all means. I feel Stand and Deliver, Finn might lose the title to Karrion Kross, and then if Walter still has the title after his match with Rampage Brown, which for anyone who doesn't watch NXT UK, Rampage is the biggest threat that what Walter has had to that belt, 100%.
Yeah,
that's going to be a hoss fight. It would be cool to see Finn going after the NXT UK title for sure.
I'd like that. That'd be fun. Another guy that Walter's connected with, I freaking love Jordan Devlin.
Yes.
If you watch that OTT stuff where he's in that little tiny building and those vignettes that they cut for him, I mean, the dude, that little company's got some money. The production on those things is great. And it's so good. And just the Rocky story, you know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, he's been one of the most misused talents since the day he got there. They could have ran with this with him against Walter in the States. It would have been money. And I don't know if they're going to do it now, but him and Escobar, I think, are going to tear the house down.
Yeah.
Troy, what do you think about this?
I love Jordan Devlin. I think he's absolutely fantastic. I love everything he's done since he won the Cruiserweight Championship and his whole thing where it's just like, Escobar, you're holding a replica title, like, and just everything. It's so good. And he's beaten Escobar. He's doing that. And it would be nice if he stayed over stateside for a bit as well and kind of built up his stock there, because he's established himself in the UK and on NXT UK. So to go over and do that, yeah, he's money. He's awesome. Keep that belt on him for ages. Build the division around him.
Absolutely. And, at some point, maybe do a 205 live, but just do it streaming. It doesn't have to be live to network. You could just bring it back and put the show anywhere you wanted to, in the States or in United Kingdom. James, I don't know about you. I would think that would be a great fit for him. Just make him the star of the show.
Yeah, it's something that 205 Live really needs as well. Like, it's pretty much a case of they're using that show at the moment to build up future contenders for the Cruiserweight title, but then they're not getting the same exposure on NXT or NXT UK, so it's not really working. Whereas if they literally have someone who's a prominent name from NXT going and wrestling on that show as well, and using it as a reason for people to actually watch it, then it makes a hell of a lot of sense.
I still find it weird how they have a Cruiserweight champion who's prominently on NXT and NXT UK, but then they've got an entirely separate show for the rest of the division.
Yeah.
Either bring the division over to NXT and NXT UK or put the champion on 205 Live, but they feel like two separate entities. Like, aside from the few people that Devlin and Escobar have challenged, or rather have challenged them, I couldn't tell you anyone else on 205 Live.
I mean,
like,
there's
maybe a handful, but
yeah, there's a disconnect. When your program is the weight class of the belt that you're fighting for, the champ should be on there. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense, but I'm with you guys. I'm a big Jordan Devlin guy for sure. Ratings this week, AEW up from last week, up from 743 to 768. NXT down by almost 100,000. We've said here on the, here we go. Hold on. There's the numbers. Yikes. So we've said here on the program multiple times over the past several months, until one of these shows moves, nothing's going to change. It's going to be around the same numbers every single week. AEW is not going to get better. NXT is not going to get better. You got to split these shows up. There was rumors it was going to happen. Now supposedly NHL is talking to USA Network about not making this move, like working out another time slot for hockey in the States. I don't know. I'm not a hockey guy. So we'll see what happens. But, man, these shows got to be split up. It's best for business if these shows are split up. They don't need to be going head-to-head anymore.
No.
Yeah.
So.
Needs to happen.
Yeah, for sure. Kids, we went way over. Before we get out of here, let's address a couple of the comments so folks didn't think I was trying to ignore them here. Toby says Toni Storm should have got another match with Io. Tony's one of the best they have, male or female, in my opinion. She's so good. I still think no matter how many fans she has, she's underrated. I think she might still be underrated by that company. It reminds me a lot of Rhea Ripley, where we're kind of sitting back going, when are they going to get a chance to really, shine? I mean, I don't know, guys. I mean, what do you think about, Toni Storm getting the superstar treatment at some point? When's that going to happen, you think?
I feel like they're already starting the ball rolling. I think with like the stuff she did with Io the other week, that match she had with Io, even though it was short, it was really good. Yeah. And I feel like this is kind of like the start of making her develop that character that because she only turned heel like round War Games, so that's like November. So they've not really had a lot of time to sort of allow to put a bit of flesh on the bone with the character, with like how much time they've devoted to it. So I feel like maybe they're going to go back to that, establish her more as a character, and then when she does finally beat whoever it is for the women's title, it's going to mean more than if she had beaten Io the other week.
Troy, what do you think about Toni Storm finally getting up the ladder? And is this maybe a slow progression for her? You think maybe she's finally on the road to getting there?
Yeah, definitely. I was saying this the other week when we were doing our recording of like just after the match she had with Io, and at first I didn't really, not that I didn't get her, I just didn't really see anything, and it feels like maybe the last year or so just come on leaps and bounds. Like the talent and the ability was clearly there, but for me there wasn't really much of a character investment.
Yeah,
and now it's absolutely all there. She looked amazing last week. I think she would have had probably a bit more time to shine in their triple threat match at the last takeover. Obviously, it was cut short and spots here and there kind of didn't go as planned, but I think she was looking good in that. And I think given more time, she'd have stood out even more. But yeah, she's well on the road to getting that eventually. She's going to be champion at some point fairly soon. I
agree with that. We've had a lot of people asking. Shannon's asking. Okay, NXT was down because of no Cameron Grimes. And I'm going to be honest with you. I can't disagree with that because this is like my favorite button so far. You can kiss my grin! I love that. I love that one. So much fun. Yeah, Victor's like, who was it said, Elvis is like, play the Cameron Grimes soundbite. Now I'm getting bossed around. Look at that. I said, play it. See that? I'm just a monkey. I'm just dancing. It's okay. I'll be the dancing monkey. It's fine. The organ grinder's over here doing his thing. I'll do it. I'll jump through hoops. It's fine. It's my audience. Victor brings up a point that I hadn't really even thought about. Why don't they use Asuka in WrestleMania posters and advertisements? Is it, I've not even noticed this. Is this a thing or is this Victor, thanks as always for watching, man.
First thing we all said was, where's Asuka on the poster? Because they've got every other champion. Every other, like, they've got the WWE Universal, they've got Sasha, and then they've not got Asuka, but they've got Charlotte Flair. So, you know,
they haven't got the tag team champions. They haven't got the United States champion.
No, but I mean, out of the four, the women's titles are sort of world.
I see.
So
yeah.
Out of the four top singles titles, they've got three of them.
Yeah,
and even then, Bobby Lashley's just added in the background
at the back. Yeah,
behind Drew and Roman and
remember, I got a title. See,
remember, I'm still here, guys.
Wow.
It just comes down to the fact that for whatever reason they see Charlotte Flair as being the more marketable person, don't they? It's like you can go. We've done this ad nauseum on our podcast, and you can go back to a couple of weeks ago when they were having people beat Charlotte to get a women's title opportunity, but people who were actually pinning Asuka clean as a whistle weren't getting women's title matches. So,
it is, and we don't have to get into the Charlotte thing. Me and Phil have discussed this before, and it's a hot button topic for a lot of people who, again, let's get mad at the talent. At the talent, not the booker, the talent. Great idea. So, yeah. Shane, with a great bit of history for us, March 1983, the Rock and Roll Express were formed. Congratulations to Ricky and Robert. As a guy who's been in the locker room with Ricky and Robert, they are quality guys. As a kid, Electric Light Orchestra playing Rock and Roll is King and bringing Rock and Roll Express to, I got goosebumps right now. If you want to know how over, kids, if you weren't alive to see it, if you want to know how over these guys were, go back and watch. Just queue up Entrance on YouTube. It is deafening. They were so over. And I think Tully Blanchard said it best. If you wanted to start a riot in the Carolinas, go beat up Ricky Morton. I mean, fans would try to come out of the crowd to hurt you for touching these guys.
Wow.
And they're still the real deal. I mean, good God, man. Unreal.
They're still doing that on NWA to get getting them to beat up Ricky Morton. Dude,
I was there to see me and my son were there at the Crockett Cup when Nick Aldis worked. I'm blanking on his name. Marty Skrull and Rock and Roll Express were there that night for the tag team tournament. And it's like, Ricky's still doing his thing. And it's funny because I was the commissioner of this little brand, this little company in a town about an hour away from me. And we had Ricky up several times. And Ricky came up, and we were running this spot where I was supposed to be getting one over on the heels. And Ricky comes up to me outside the ring because he's playing the part, and he's supposed to be telling me something. But instead, he just walks up and goes, haba, 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 haba. And then I learned something that night that this is just the show for the people to see. And he's supposed to be, brother, thanks for doing that. These guys are, oh man, thank God you were here. But instead, he just gives me all that. So like, you learn stuff as you go, kids, is what I'm saying. But I'm just looking at him, and for a half second, I thought, what is this? And then I thought, oh, I get it now. So you learn something a little bit at a time, and talk about learning something from these two guys. If you were a tag team wrestler and you didn't go out of your way to contact Ricky and or Robert, I'd be like, what's wrong with you? Do you not want to get better? I mean, without Rock and Roll Express, there's no FTR, in my opinion. I don't know how you get FTR without the Horsemen and the Rock and Roll Express. That's, one day we're going to do an old school podcast, and I'm going to love it. Let's do one more thing, kids. We'll take it home. Ray, you know what, Ray? I'm going to give you the floor. Ray will hit me with old school hip hop references. And all the time, Big Daddy Kane or Heavy D, and Troy and James, will Adam Cole ever be the champ again? All right, guys. Are we looking at Big Daddy Kane or Heavy D? What say you, Troy?
Big Daddy Kane.
James?
Heavy D.
Oh! I got the tiebreaker. I got to go Heavy D. I'm sorry. I love Big Daddy Kane.
That's what I get for bad timekeeping.
You brought it up.
I got in there before you did.
Oh, did he? I missed it. So, I spoke earlier about keeping Adam Cole on the brand. I mean, at some point, do you say that the best guy to give the belt back to is... I love that one too. I don't. All right, so he doesn't need the title, but does his character need it at some point to be that ultra megalomaniacal heel? And if Karrion Kross has it, that the mask's not going to work on that. So I don't know. Are we still talking about world title picture? Or are we just going to back away from that for a bit, Troy? What do you think?
He'll hold it again, I feel. Well, not for a while, though. Like you say, he doesn't need to. We might even get this whole Kyle O'Reilly thing, and we've still got Bobby Fish. He's not even factored into it.
Yeah.
After he's done with Kyle O'Reilly, regardless of the result of that, there's still that factored in. I feel he's got lots of other things he can do there without having the belt on him, but he will get it back eventually.
James, do you think we're talking about a secondary title for him, the North American title first again, or is it the world belt or nothing?
I think it all depends on the landscape of the whole WWE. To be honest, it's easy to say, oh yeah, he could win the NXT title at some point this year, because you never know with like injuries and everything else. At the same time, we don't know how long this O'Reilly feud's going to go. Is it going to go one match? Is it going to go 3 or 4? They could still be wrestling, like they could be doing the blow off this time next year, to take over before Mania.
Yeah.
At the same time, it wouldn't hurt to have him the NXT champion. He's brilliant, but I could also feasibly see him going to Raw or SmackDown and winning the IC US title, maybe even challenging for one of the top belts.
That's a great take, and I'm with it. And I'm like Ray. I do love Adam Cole, and met the guy in person. He's awesome, very sincere, and the genuine talents. Not that any of them are, phony pieces of crap or whatever, but the really genuine guys will look you in the eye when they talk to you and ask you what your name is. And I learned that from Matt Hardy. And I learned it from a lot of the old timers, and Adam Cole's one of those guys too. He's like, "Hi, how are you? What's your name?" And then they'll tell you, not because they're signing an autograph, they're just asking. So like that's important. And he really comes off as a genuine guy. So, and at 6'3", and at the time 260, when I was really heavy, I was much bigger than Adam Cole. It didn't mean I was going to try it, okay? Because I'm not stupid. Because he would have put me in the floor. But I'm 201 now. And he could probably still put me in the floor. It's okay. All right. We've kept these guys way past their bedtime. Thank you, gentlemen. As always, man, for coming on the show. It's been a hot minute since we've had both of you on.
Yeah, man.
Before
Enjoyed it.
Hey, man, thank you. We love having you guys on here, dude, for sure. Before we split, tell the good people where they can find, if I can get it out, the Untitled Wrestling Podcast.
Go on, Jay.
So we're on Facebook, Untitled Wrestling Podcast, YouTube, Untitled Wrestling Podcast. You can look us up on Anchor, and we're on there. We've also got Twitter, Twitch, and a Discord server at Untitled Rest Pod. We try to integrate as much of our community within the Discord and the Twitch as we can. Like we do on tomorrow night, we're doing like a big gaming stream where it's pretty much just like an open floor. If anyone wants to come join us, play any of the games, all they have to do, join the Discord server, hit us up, ask if they can join, and we'll send you an invite.
Nice. Yeah, dude, I love the first time I think, Troy, you told me the name of it. I'm like, the what? And I swear that I read it as United. And I thought, it's like a wrestling promotion. There's a lot of podcasts together. That's cool. And I'm like, Untitled, you know what? I really dig that. That's cool. It's different. I mean, you got to be different. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of main events on iTunes, which is now Apple Podcasts, in 2014. There was no Tom Clark's main event. So by God, there is now. So you got to make yourself stand out. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Thanks again, Troy and James, for hanging out. We appreciate it as always, man. And yeah, you guys, we're going to have to go have you back real soon, man. But thanks again, definitely, for joining us here today.
Cheers, Tom. Thanks for having us, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, folks, let's get out of here. We went way over, but we have fun with guests and we have fun talking wrestling, man. That's what we're here for. Listen, everybody, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us as always. We have the best audience in the history of podcasting. I'm committed to that, and I believe 100%. Everybody, watch you some wrestling this weekend. And remember, wear your stupid mask, okay? Don't screw around. It's not political. Don't be a doofus, all right? No one likes a doofus. God knows I don't. Get out in the world where you can. Be safe, be happy, be healthy, be mindful of others, all right? And show respect wherever you can. Let's get out of here, folks. Thanks again for watching, as always. We'll see you again next time. Don't be late. I won't. Troy, that's not a dig at you. Tom Clark's main event.